Now that you've identified your threats and vulnerabilities, it's time to figure out what they actually mean for your organization. You can't treat every risk equally, and you shouldn't. Your job is to determine which risks deserve action, which can be tolerated, and which ones pose the greatest threat to your mission. That's exactly what risk analysis and assessment help you do. This is where you shift from discovery to decision-making. You need to clearly understand the distinction between risk analysis and risk assessment, because each plays a different role in your decision-making process. When you perform risk analysis, you're estimating how likely it is that a threat will successfully exploit a vulnerability and what the impact would be if that happens. It's about probability and consequence. But when you conduct a full risk assessment, you're stepping back to look at the complete picture. You're identifying the risks, analyzing their severity, and evaluating which ones you should accept, treat, transfer, or avoid based on business priorities. Think of it this way. Risk analysis is the engine that drives your insights, but risk assessment is the whole car that gets you to your destination. When it comes to risk analysis, you have two primary approaches, and as a security leader, you need to know when and how to use each one effectively. If you're operating in a dynamic, fast-paced environment where decisions need to be made quickly, qualitative methods will often be your go-to. You'll use descriptive scales, like low, medium, and high, to assess the severity and likelihood of risks based on expert judgment and collaborative consensus. It's a fast, strategic approach that works especially well when hard data is lacking. But remember, it's also subjective. You must take the extra step to validate your assumptions and clearly document the reasoning behind your ratings, so your analysis holds up under scrutiny. When you need precision, especially for budget justification or executive reporting, you'll turn to quantitative methods. This approach involves calculating specific figures like single loss expectancy, SLE, which estimates how much you'd lose from a single event, annual rate of occurrence, ARO, which tells you how frequently that event might happen, and annualized loss expectancy, ALE, which you get by multiplying SLE by ARO. This data-driven method requires effort, but it gives you clear, defensible numbers that are essential for convincing business leaders and securing funding for mitigation efforts. Before you assess anything, you need to define the scope clearly. This is where you decide what's in and what's out of your risk assessment. Are you focusing on a single system, a critical business unit, a cloud environment, the entire enterprise? Get clarity up front by asking, what are you protecting? Who owns it? What business impact would a compromise cause? What regulations or standards apply? When you define your scope smartly, you avoid wasting time on irrelevant details and keep your efforts focused where they matter most. You don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to risk assessment. Instead of building everything from scratch, you can rely on well-established, industry-proven frameworks that offer structure, credibility, and efficiency. Start with NIST SP 800, 30 if you're looking for a comprehensive and widely accepted approach. This framework gives you a detailed process for identifying, assessing, and mitigating risks, making it a strong foundation for most organizations, especially in the public sector or those aligning with U.S. federal standards. If your organization follows international standards, ISO IEC 27005 is a smart choice. It's designed to work hand in hand with ISO IEC 27001, helping you manage information security risks while supporting your broader compliance goals. For a more operational view, explore Octave. This framework helps you evaluate risk in a business context, focusing on organizational priorities and decision-making rather than just technical assets. It's a great fit when you're aligning security to business strategy. If you need to speak the language of finance, use FAIR. It allows you to quantify risk in monetary terms, which is especially helpful when justifying security investments or making ROI-driven decisions. With FAIR, you can show exactly how much a risk could cost and why it's worth addressing. No matter which framework you choose, the key is consistency. Pick the one that fits your organization's maturity and objectives, and apply it systematically across your assessments. By the time you complete your risk assessment, you should have a clearly ranked list of risks, each one documented and actionable. Start by assigning a likelihood and impact rating for every risk. This gives you a way to prioritize based on how severe and probable each threat really is. For each risk, make sure you've identified a risk owner, someone who is accountable for managing or monitoring that risk. Without clear ownership, even the most urgent risk can be forgotten. Next, decide on a recommended action. Will you accept the risk, avoid it entirely, transfer it to a third party, or treat it through mitigation? This decision should be clearly stated and aligned with your business strategy and risk tolerance. Finally, include the supporting data behind your choices. This could be metrics, financial projections, impact estimates, or notes from team discussions. That evidence gives you the credibility you need to explain your recommendations to stakeholders. Altogether, this becomes your risk response playbook. It gives you clarity, direction, and the confidence to defend why you're investing time, money, and effort in certain areas, and why others may not need immediate attention. So, what's your key leadership takeaway? Risk analysis helps you estimate how likely a threat is to exploit a vulnerability and how severe the consequences could be. It gives you the core insight you need to make smart decisions. Risk assessment takes it further. It's the complete process of identifying, analyzing, and evaluating risks so you can decide how to respond. You should know when to use qualitative methods for speed and simplicity, and when to go quantitative for accuracy and budget justification. Always begin by defining your scope. That single step ensures you focus on what matters most, and not on distractions that waste your time. Rely on proven frameworks to keep your process consistent and repeatable. Whether it's NIST, ISO, Octave, or FAIR, frameworks give you structure and credibility. And remember, your goal isn't to eliminate all risk. It's to understand which risks matter most so you can respond with focus, precision, and confidence.